is Abdul Rahman. I'm a lecturer at a public university in Kenya. I deliver lectures in computing and informatics. In our last lesson, we talked about dynamic memory allocation methods, and actually we found out C programming provides around 4 inbuilt functions, that it is the Malloc function, the Calloc function, the reloc function, and the free function. So today we are going to see what is actually the Malloc function, and into that particular journey we are going to describe the definition of a Malloc function, the syntax, and finally we are going to implement the same in the Dev C++. So what is actually the Malloc function? So the word Malloc actually stands for memory allocation. And here basically what we are saying is that it reserves a block of memory with specific number of bytes. So basically that's what it does, and actually it returns a pointer of the type void, and actually this means it allocates single block of memory. So that is what you call a Malloc function. So that one takes us to the syntax. Let's see what is the syntax. So basically when you're talking of the syntax, it's a very simple one. If P, it is our pointer, and then we'll have our int. This is a converter, and then we are calling up our Malloc function, and we are passing the type size. So that will be the syntax. So let's take up for example, if you have got a pointer P and of the data type integer, then basically you will have Malloc, and let's take for example the size we want, it is 100 times the size of our integer. So here when we have already known that the size of an integer actually it is 4. So what will be allocated will be 4 times 100, which makes up around 400 bytes. And we should understand that the Malloc function, it is accessed by a library file, the standard lib.h. So this is the file which actually it is accessed. So we have known about the definition and the syntax. Let's go to Dev C++, whereby we want to implement. What we want to implement, it is we are implementing our Malloc function. We are asking up a user to enter the number of elements which he wants actually to be allocated, and then the elements themselves, and then we do a very simple mathematics. So we are going just to do a very simple mathematics to add up all our sums which were there. So we are going to add up our sum by allocating dynamically using up a pointer, and basically using up a for loop to capture all the elements. So let's go and see what will happen. So first of all, before we can start here, we have to include our library file, and this particular library file basically it is standard lib.h. So that's the first thing we are doing. Then here we are. So we declare our variables. Let's take, for example, int n to capture the number, and our pointer, which is p, and then our sum, which is going to be initialized to 0. So after that, what do we do? Just ask the user, that is printf, ask the user to enter the number of elements. So here you say enter the number of elements. So here we're asking the user to enter the number of elements, and then after entering those particular number of elements, let's say 4 or 5 or 6, we have to use up a scanf to capture them. So using up a scanf to capture them, and their type of integers, so int n, and then this is how we capture them. So we're using up ampersand n. So basically now a user has entered and we have captured them. He has entered through a keyboard and we have captured them. So the next thing, we want to allocate now the memory. So our pointer should be equal to the type int. So that is our pointer of the type int, and after typecasting, we are calling up the malloc function, and in that particular malloc function, we are passing out our n multiplied by, so we are saying the size of our int, So basically, this is where we dynamically actually allocate our memory, and then before we do up anything, we can use up an if statement. So if our p equals to null, because it's not it equals to null, it is not allocated, that is empty, then what do? We put up a very simple printf, and in that particular printf, we pass on a message, let them actually error, tell them error, and error memory not allocated. So if anything happens, we'll get up that particular error and tell us memory not allocated, and then the program actually should exit. So the program actually should exit. Now after doing that, basically what do we want to do? Actually from there, we are telling now the user printf to enter the elements themselves. So telling up the user now, enter the elements. So if it was 5, 6, 7, 8 elements, so enter, let's say our 4 elements or 5 elements. So here we'll have enter the %d, the 5 elements. Enter the 5 elements, and basically here we'll have our n, which was the number of elements we want actually to put. Now from there, what do you want to do? We are using up a for loop, so we are saying for int I equals to 0, I should be less than n, and then we're incrementing I plus plus, and onto that, basically what do we do? Onto that, actually we have now to capture, so that will be scanf, and we are saying %d we're saying %d, and here basically we want to go through it, so we are saying p actually plus our I. After doing that, we have captured. Now we want to make up a total of them, so we'll say sum equals to sum plus. Here, as we have seen up in our previous lessons for pointers, that we're using up a pointer operator because we want up a value, because pointer actually they hold up an address. So pointer p plus our I. So that will give us our values captured. After we have captured our value, we exit the loop and printf. And printf our sum, that is the total or the sum, equals to, and then we'll have our %d, and then we are having our sum put up there. However, we have already allocated our memory here. We have to free it. So we are using up the free function to put up our p. So we want to free our p. So basically, that is the demonstration. So let's run this particular program, see what happens. Okay, it runs and actually tells me enter the number of elements. So I want to enter let's say 4 as the number of element, and then let's say enter the 4 elements. So the first element I'll enter will be 50, the second element it is 67, the third element it is 105, and the fourth element it is 180. So there now it gives me the sum actually of the 4 elements I've entered. Actually it is 402. So this is basically how we have actually allocated memory dynamically using up the Malloc function. In our next lesson, we are going to see the second function, which is called up a calloc, and don't forget to subscribe into our channel in order to get up the newest video. For that, I say bye.